Somehow it always starts like this. One minute you get a little sand in your shoes, and before long, you have the ocean pounding in your heart and the beach calming your soul, and you are hooked. The memories line up day after day, summer after summer, memories that last a lifetime. Avalon memories. So, kick off your shoes as we take a barefoot stroll down Avalon's memory lane. Memories of days gone by.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Johnny.
For more than 30 years in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, Americans went to bed watching Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. And at his side was the show's announcer, Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon was not only a recognizable face and voice coast to coast, but he was a favorite son right here in Avalon, where he made his summer home. When McMahon stepped out of the national spotlight on his days off, he made a beeline to Avalon to rest, relax, and revel in friends, family, and fun. He lived on the beach at 18th Street on 2 beachfront lots, one for his home, the other for a basketball court, a court once called the most expensive in the state of New Jersey. Take a walk on the beach at 18th Street in those days, and chances were you'd see Ed McMahon in a bathing suit, playing horseshoes with friends and neighbors. Ed McMahon passed away in 2009, but before his death, he sat down at his California home to talk about the good old days, to talk about his summers in Avalon.
I understand that there was what brought you to Avalon the first time was you met someone who, the Gillens, I think it was.
The Gillen, Bob Gillen and Marty Gillen, and it's the Wolfington family. They had been big real estate owners there and had a big, beautiful house, occupied a whole city block, and they had a lot of children. And one of them was Marty Gillen, who married Bob Gillen, Marty Wolfington. And they kept telling me about, you got to come to Avalon, got to come to Avalon. And I was not a Jersey Shore person. You know, I'd worked on the boardwalk in Atlantic City as a pitchman for many years, but I didn't know anything about the South, really South Jersey, down Avalon, Stone Harbor, Cape May. And I came down for, I guess, a weekend, and I don't know where I stayed. I may have stayed at the Princeton Hotel. I don't know where I stayed, but I fell in love with the place. And I tell you something interesting. I bought these 2 lots. And I wanted to build a house. I designed that house in a car, the back of a car, with my driver taking me to New York. And I did something else that was interesting. I flip-flopped it. I put the downstairs upstairs so that the living room could look over the sand dunes and you could see the ocean. And then when I did that, everybody copied me. Everybody else did that. So the bedrooms were downstairs. You didn't want to see the ocean when you're in the bedroom, but when you're in the living room and the dining room, you wanted to see the bedroom, the kitchen. So everybody copied that after that. But I fell in love with Avalon, and my kids grew up there, and they just loved it. We spent every summer there. I used to work in New York, and I worked all week. I'd come down Wednesday night, one night, and then in the summertime. Then on Saturday, I did Monitor, the NBC radio network show, and I finished that at 6 o'clock, hopped in my car. It was 145 miles to my house.
Do you have any idea, after all this time, is there anything that sticks out in your mind that might have been what was the attraction, do you think?
It was just the fact that it was such a tidy city. You know, it had that old-fashioned Jersey charm. People talked about going to the shore, and that was the shore. But one thing I liked about that town, I'll tell you something interesting. My son, Michael, I'd be down driving around the circle, right? In Avalon, they had that circle that you're familiar with. And I'd drive around the circle, and a policeman would stop me. And he said, I just wanted to tell you, your son's at the movie on the pier. That's how close and how friendly everybody was, that a policeman would stop you. And then my kids all worked. One kid worked at the Tasty Freeze. One worked at the Rockin' Chair Lounge as a waitress. One worked as a bartender. I'm not sure where. But, you know, the kids, it was a great place for the kids to grow up, and they still love it. You mentioned Avalon to any of my kids to this day, and a smile comes on their face.
So how hard was it to, when the show moved to California? Is that when you made your weekend break?
Yeah, that's when it was, because was so hard to get there. You know, it was just a difficult place. You had to fly to Philadelphia, then you either had to drive or you couldn't fly directly into close to Avalon. So it became too difficult when I moved out here, and we finally sold the house. I wish I still owned it, or it's gone, but I wish I still owned the property.
Some people still talk about, and I actually remember seeing when Johnny used to poke fun of Avalon.
Yes.
In fact, I remember, and I don't know how I remember through all these years, but he would hold up like photos of old Wild West town, like of the sheriff with you know, a hat crooked and pretend that it was Avalon. How did the joking of Avalon start? It
started with me. You know, he would wonder where I was going for the weekend, and I said Avalon. And of course, his attitude of Avalon was like a little dinky town, you know, which in one regard it was. But he loved that. And I felt funny at the time because I didn't want to put it on the map. You know, some of my friends would say, don't mention Avalon anymore. We don't want any more people down here. But there was nothing I could do about it. Once he got onto it, he loved it.
Are there any people friends that you still remember aside from the Gillens and Wolfingtons? Well,
the Gillens, you know, we used to go fishing. Once a summer we would go fishing. There were 6 of us, and 6 of us would go fishing. We'd rent a boat, and out we'd go. And what would happen is there was a lot of beer and a lot of spirited drinking aboard the boat. But we had stayed out all day. We had a captain and we had a mate, and we'd fish. Now we never caught any fish. Finally, one day, I caught a fish, and the mate behind me, and instead of being proud of the fact that we finally caught a fish and, you know, congratulating me, he said, oh, it's nothing but a GD skipjack. Now, I never heard of it, skipjack. I didn't know what the hell a skipjack was. It's about this big, and it looked like a little baby tuna. Anyway, he said, it's nothing but a GD skipjack. And I turned around, I said, $500 a day for this boat, 4 cases of beer, 4 bottles of vodka, and you call your disparaging remark about my fish? So anyway, I decided that I would start a club with the 6 guys that fished every year, and I started a club called the Skipjacks. So we became Skipjacks. So I'm still friendly to this day with these guys. There's Bob Gillen is one. There's a guy we call the Mouse, Jake Moran, Bob Haley, John Millar. These are all friends of mine. Art Williams, who was one of my dearest friends, he died a few years ago. And when I went back for a special party honoring him, and we were all together, the Skipjacks, back again. But we've stayed friends through all these years, the Skipjacks, people that I met in Avalon.
When you went down on the weekends, obviously, at the time, you were very prominent when you were on TV on a national program.
Yes.
Yet, on the beach on 21st Street, you're just Ed.
Yeah, that's right. And it didn't bother me. I liked that. It didn't, you know, I wanted to be an ordinary citizen when I was there. I didn't want to be a celebrity. I just wanted to be a regular guy. And I'm proud that I was able to be that. People didn't think of me as a big celebrity. You know, people would drive down the street. It was 18th Street, by the way. They'd drive down the street and they'd turn around to look at my house, and I'd come out and wave to them. I'd be on the porch. I'd wave to them. I wouldn't hide. You know, a lot of celebrities want to hide. I don't want to hide. I want to be a good celebrity. So I'd be out. If I was playing basketball with the kids, I'd stop and wave. I'd sign an autograph, shake a hand, whatever. I do what I do. It didn't bother me at all.
Do you think that's part of the attraction, the small townness? Is that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Just kind of to wrap up, is there any businesses or any, I don't know, I guess that you haven't been back in 25, 27 years.
Yeah.
Is there anything that still sticks out in your mind? Anybody, anything?
Well, I'll tell you this one thing. We used to have a horseshoe tournament. I put in a horseshoe court, and we had a big horseshoe tournament every year. And we used to have the competition between the Bayers and the Beachers. And we had a lot of friends lived up on the bay, and we had a lot of friends that lived on the beach. So we would have designations for people. It was my party. I threw the party, so I was like the president. And then Jake Moran, the Mouse, he lived a couple of houses down from me on the shore, and he would be our, you know, official guy. We all had designations, and we would have this great rivalry. And it got to the point where it was really such a big rivalry that the Bayers one year rented an airplane with one of those signs on the back, and it was like, a remark that the Bears could beat the Beachers anytime, so I remember that. Those were the greatest days I can remember. That the horseshoe tournament at the McMahon's was a big event.
Last question. I have trouble remembering what I had for breakfast this morning, but you've been gone 25, 27 years. Can you still name businesses in town and places in town that you went?
Well, I remember that, the Princeton Hotel, I remember that. I remember the Whitebriar, we had a lot of fun at the Whitebriar. We did something one day, we used to do crazy things down there. There was a flatbed truck, and I got to know the guy driving the flatbed truck, and I said, here's what I want to do. I said, we're going to go over and we're going to have some fun at the Whitebriar. So I got everybody around the pool at the Princeton. We got on the flatbed truck, and we drove to the Whitebriar. We got off the truck, and we went over, and we threw everybody around the pool at the Whitebriar into the pool. Whether they were dressed or not, they had the watch on, their glasses, didn't make a difference. We threw them in the pool, got back on the truck, and went back to the Princeton. To all my friends at Avalon, and I can call you my friends because you're in one of the friendliest places on earth, just enjoy yourself. Avalon is a great place, and I have wonderful memories from all my years there, and so do my kids. You love it there, and you should.
And so, of course, I'll try.